Students, graduates, alumni, media, friends, family, community members, faculty and staff, administration, and members of the School Corporation's Board of Education, Mr. Conley. Welcome to the 2023 Burket Educational Center graduation celebration. It's with great pleasure that we meet here today to honor the accomplishments of the fine group of seniors that you're about to meet. Before we begin, would those of you who are able please rise as we honor America with the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your time and attendance here on this joyous occasion as we celebrate the graduation of our class of 2023. Today we have gathered to celebrate the accomplishments of our fine students who have been successful in the undertaking of graduating high school. The students that you are going to see here today to be honored have worked hard to get where they're at. They've had to overcome many personal challenges to make the passage from youth to adulthood. Whether the students were in tough situations because they were victims of circumstances outside of their control, or simply the product of poor decision making at times, is irrelevant. When it came to earning a diploma, these students buckled down and focused on the moment that mattered, finishing high school, and that will greatly affect the rest of their lives. Before we begin to introduce the graduates, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Dana Kolanowski. Mrs. Kolanowski is our assistant principal at Tippecanoe Valley High School and also the program director here at Burket. She has a huge influence over our students and oversees the direction of the entire program. She's a kind-hearted, caring person who has much creativity and an attitude that makes school fun. Her presence is strong, and students have a respect for her, and it's obvious. She's made a strong impact on our culture, and we're glad to have her join our team again this year. Mrs. Kolanowski.
Thank you, Mr. Lukens. Good morning, and welcome to the Burket graduation. We're very excited to get this process going for you guys. I want you to know I'm very proud of each and every one of you. The journey has finally come to an end. That's today. So, welcome. I want to tell you a couple things about Burket before we get started. The students that you are about to meet attend Burket Education Center for a variety of reasons. The main reasons for attending alternative school, as defined by the Indiana Department of Education, include they could be behind in credits, needing more hours to work and support themselves or their family financially, having difficulty understanding the traditional style of learning in the classroom, possibility of being pregnant or with a dependent and having disciplinary problems at the high school. Secondary reasons students might attend Burket include tutoring in a difficult subject, not liking the drama of the high school, and personal health problems, to name just a few. Because of these issues, many of our students either struggled to succeed at Tippecanoe Valley High School or had issues that prevented them from continuing to attend school there. Adding to all of this is the struggle that many students have had over the past few years with the pandemic. Although the traditional high school is a wonderful facility with caring faculty and staff, it was simply not possible to meet the wide range of needs that some students had. For these reasons, 20 years ago, the administration and Board of Education identified that these students need not be left behind in the established alternative school here at Burket. Using a different approach to education, many of the students who had fallen behind are now able to achieve and excel in this environment. To date, they have played a strong part in having 419 students graduate from high school who otherwise might not have been able to go through the 20-year history of this program. What is the significance of earning a diploma in an age where factories are begging for laborers to start out at $15, $20 per hour? So we're very excited for those of you to take the next step. I also want to take just a second to thank many of the people that make Burket possible. So Mr. Lukens, thank you. Mr. Tinky, Ms. Kimball, Ms. Clark, Ms. Wilkes, Mrs. Wise, Mrs. Smith, Mr. Eckhoff, and Miss Lewis. We are thankful for all of you every day and the efforts you spend with our children. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lukens for the main event.
Thank you, Mrs. Skolanowski. The class of 2023 from Burket Educational Center is one of achievement and accomplishment. This year we graduate 15 students. Of those graduates, 1 earned an academic honors diploma, 13 have earned 440 diplomas. The group has collectively combined to complete 268 courses of study, mastered 1,613 units, 10,375 assessments, and spent 396,841 minutes on their coursework, which is 100,000 more minutes than last year's class. This group is truly one that holds a lot of promise for the future. And the future's now, because many of them have already begun their path towards that. Without further ado, let me please introduce our class of 2023. As I call your name up, please come forward onto the stage to be honored. Christopher Ronald Bake II. Chris entered Burket at the end of March this school year as a last resort for graduation. Although he'd done well at the high school academically and only needed a couple classes to finish up, his chronic absenteeism cost him a position at the high school. Chris had missed a lot of school, and despite multiple efforts to turn around his attendance, he just simply wasn't able to comply with requests. With Burket as his option for graduation, Chris was nothing less than brilliant once he arrived. During his short time at Burket, Chris exhibited many of the traits needed for success. He was a very hard worker and had laser-like focus. He improved his attendance and learned the error of missing school. He was a great example of hard work for the class and really was a fine student. It's noteworthy that Chris's own sister Angel was a 2017 Burket graduation as well. Chris has never been much for sitting idle, and his list of accomplishments, obligations, and hobbies are impressive. He's employed working long hours at Pilot Flying J in Rochester. He has vast knowledge in the communication department, thanks to his multi-year work for Rochester Telephone Company and broadcasting. He volunteered and helped to put on the spring musical for the Tippecanoe Valley High School department as technical support. He loves graphics, design, audio, visual effects, and is practicing to develop those skills even as we speak. He has interest in working with local emergency services down the road and seeks interest in that. Chris studied aviation in the WAC program and has a love of flying. After graduation, he plans on joining the United States Coast Guard in the aviation wing. With his great passion for learning and technology, Chris will continue to achieve great things in life. Christopher Ronald Bake II. Brianna Linnea Barris. Logan Allen Boyer. Determination, industriousness, and respect are just 3 defining words to describe Logan. Logan entered this year as a senior with some pretty big goals. He wanted to work as absolutely hard as he could to finish up the courses needed to begin his pathway toward adulthood. Logan met these goals and surpassed them by finishing the first semester of the school year. Logan said that he thinks working one class at a time helped him to stay focused on his work. Throughout his high school career, including this year, Logan has done some impressive things. He completed 20 courses on his Apex and Admitted Learning platforms and logged over 30,000 minutes of schoolwork. Logan enjoys spending time with family outside of school. He had a long trip here this morning as he moved back to North Judson now with his mother, and he's currently working at Tractor Supply Company in Valparaiso. Logan plans on attending school for welding next year and is learning many of the parts of the trade from his stepfather right now. Logan has much success to look forward to, and we're also going to see great things from him in his future. Logan Allen Boyd. Christopher John Cook, Jr. Chris entered Burket this year as a senior who was on the brink of not finishing. He had transferred into our district after struggling with previous schools and had actually dropped out. He had tried online schooling, but even though he's very intelligent, he struggled with them as well. Throughout his adolescence, Chris had struggled at times to make good decisions and really wanted to turn things around with a fresh start at school. He's the very definition of an at-risk student and met virtually several of the criteria of alternative education that we review each time with their individual service plan. Although it was a hard transition to a new school where he knew no one, Chris made it happen, and he was determined to succeed. He worked very hard on his classwork. His brilliant intellect was key towards his accomplishment. He was focused on his goals and did not let anything stand in his way. Chris went on to accomplish some impressive feats here at Burket, including finishing 15 courses and 91 units of study during his time. Although he had some moments he would like to do over, Chris saw the value in his learning experiences and in the life lessons that Burket had to offer. Chris has a great amount of creative talent that were always on display. He is an accomplished artist and an aspiring musician. In his spare time, Chris enjoys making music, spending time with friends, and being productive. He's currently working at Hollywood in Syracuse. Down the road, Chris would like to continue to develop his creativity for the betterment of the world and to someday travel as well. I have no doubt that Chris will be very successful down the pathway of life. Christopher John Cook, Jr. Noah Scott England. Noah's not here today, but Grandma is. Noah's actually at work. If you want to meet a young man who is on the track for being a local hero, I'll introduce you to Noah England. Although Noah's time at Burket was relatively short in duration, his impact was strong and lasting. Noah came to Burket during the second semester of his senior year. He entered as a student with the goal of finishing his coursework so he could begin to focus on his future goals. It took Noah a little time to show his ability and character. Noah was a student who displayed great attitude and a love of learning. He was a positive influence on those around him. All considered him to be a friend as he was polite and caring. He was, as they say though, burning the candle at both ends to better himself. Not only was Noah attending school full time, but he was also a volunteer at the Burket Fire Department right here in Burket, Indiana. He is currently an active member on the squad and takes pride in the close-knit family atmosphere of the department. Noah's also been taking EMT certification courses at night in Coscaso Community Hospital to be a licensed first responder. Once he finishes his final course, Noah will then be able to focus on his goals for the future. During a career fair, Noah met up with a representative from Instrument Medical Devices in Warsaw. He was offered a job on the spot and is currently working full-time, 40-plus hours a week. With what little spare time he has remaining, Noah enjoys playing sports, weightlifting, and video games. Down the road, he's enrolled to take classes at Ivy Tech to obtain his machining, engineering certifications. Noah thanks his grandparents for their continued support and love. With his great ability, drive for excellence, and outstanding personality, Noah will make a tremendous contribution to our society for many years to come. Noah Scott England. Isaac Ray Gonzalez. Abby Danielle Graciliano. Abby is represented by family members here today as well, as she is currently living in the state of Florida. Abby's history as a high school student is a prime example of how the pandemic disrupted the normal for students. Abby entered Burket as a virtual student her sophomore year and spent the first semester as a virtual student. Getting some work done, but not nearly as much as needed, she switched to in-person learning after that. All too familiar it has become for students who are not in the personal setting to fall behind. Abby struggled at times to stay on track. As a result, she came back to in-person learning. However, life was still difficult. She had trouble at times following rules and getting along with family. She lived in South Bend for a while and had an incident where she even ran away from home. She was continuing to work through these difficulties, all while trying to earn precious credits needed for graduation. She really saw some growth as a person as she was aging into her senior year. Things were improving at home due to her maturity, and the stability helped her a great deal. During her senior year, Abby returned to Burket for in-person classes once again. She proved herself to be an intelligent, hard-working student that aided her always in striving to reach her strong grades and demanded perfection of herself. She was known as a very social student who always took time to talk to friends, sometimes to my chagrin. I took notice of how often and how quickly she could talk and advised her someday she might have a future in the auctioneering business. Outside of school, Abby had spent a great deal of time working. She likes to earn money and is a thrifty saver. She has long held a job at Kroger's, but recently she had to give that up as a result of her move. About a month ago, she moved to the sunshine state of Florida to live with her uncle. She's helping to care for a relative there as she begins online college learning. She's planning on returning home to Tippecanoe Valley for graduation here in a few days. With her intelligence, social personality, and determinateness, Abby will find much success. Abby, Danielle, Priscilla Youngman. Terrell Wyatt Brewing. They say you can tell the importance of someone based on the number of nicknames they have. If that's the case, you know it's extremely important. Whether he's known as T-Bone, Turtle, T-Money, Torilla, Terrell, you always have an adventure with Terrell. Terrell spent his junior and senior years at Burket. Terrell entered school behind on his work and in jeopardy of not finishing on time. Learning, and in particular concentration, was difficult for Terrell. He tended to love to procrastinate and has been caught a time or two playing video games when he was supposed to be doing his work. Terrell has a zest for life and always was one to bring the morale of the school up. He was constantly having fun with the other students, and many in the class were devoted friends to Terrell. His positive image and fun-loving attitude are already greatly missed. While Terrell's larger-than-life personality was always on full display, there's another side to him that is important to note. Terrell was always very serious about reaching the goal of graduation and standing here before you today. He was honest and open about where he stood with his credits and had a strong desire to finish them. Although Terrell was bright, he also matured a great deal in that he realized that he needed help to reach his goals. Throughout this year, Terrell helped him work side by side with teachers to help him reach his goal of graduation. All in all, Terrell spent more than 500 minutes in intensive one-on-one training this year to help him. Overall, Terrell's accomplishments are outstanding. He finished nearly 56,000 minutes on his work, which is the most of any of this year's graduates, including mastering 135 units of study and 882 assessments. Terrell has many interests and activities that he's part of. He was a finalist in our spring pool tournament and a great ping pong player as well. He loves to spend time with friends around Akron. He's currently employed at Subway in Mentone. He's an avid fisherman and loves the fresh air of the outdoors. An old country music song once said, "You sure were a pain as you were growing up, but now you sure cause pain seeing you go." Terrell will always have a special place in the hearts of those at Burket, and with his great personality and ability, he will go far. Terrell Wyatt Brew. Jaden Alexis Hale. spent a great deal of time at Burket throughout her high school career. She entered Burket back in February of 2020 after being in trouble at the high school for misbehavior. Early on in her school career, two things were clear. Jaden was a very talented student with much academic promise. She also was a tumultuous student who tended to love conflict and disharmony. As a freshman, she started off academically strong and wanted to make a change for the better. She was able to finish the year with some key credits to help her get back on track. Most of the time was spent virtually her sophomore year due to COVID. And it kind of went back and forth at different times throughout that year. She continued to progress academically, but had ups and downs behaviorally. Jaden was a student who really struggled to put her energy into not being distracted. Throughout much of her time at Burket, Jaden put herself into these conflicts, and they came to a climax early in her junior year. During this time, rather than being expelled from school, Jaden was given a rare opportunity to work at the high school office with Mrs. Kolanowski under her personal care, eliminating all possible distractions and helping her to progress nicely to be able to be here today. After a very successful year, Jaden proved herself to be responsible and was ready to return. She saw success in her future and made that happen. During this year, she was able to earn the credits she needed to finish her 440 diploma, all the while working at both McDonald's and Gabe's in Warsaw, and spending time with her boyfriend as well. During her time at Burket, Jaden's accomplishments were strong. Not only did she complete the required credits for her 440 diploma, but she did so impressively, finishing over 177 units of study and 33 courses throughout her high school career. Jaden's academic body of work is impressive, but her development as a person is even more impressive. By the time she finished school, she had matured a great deal to the point where academics were her focus, and she was able to finish school early. To see her development from grade 9 through 12 was truly remarkable. Outside of school, Jaden likes to work and spend time with her boyfriend. If Jaden continues to grow and mature after high school as much as she did during these 4 years, she is truly on the path to excellence. Jaden Alexis Haley. Dylan Allen Lotion. Hardworking, energetic, motivated, and driven are some of the words that come to mind when I think about Dylan. Dylan came to Burket this year as a senior with the goal of graduating early. He was working a lot to support himself financially and needed a schedule that allowed him to do well in school and deal with the economic realities of the real world. I would describe him as a highly motivated student, not only in what he wanted to accomplish, but in making it happen. Dylan wasted no time rolling up his sleeves, getting to work as intensely as possible on his classes. His drive and effort were impressive. His only downfall at times was his impatience. He would rush through things a bit much to reach his daily quotas. Dylan found himself at or near the top of the class each and every week in regards to his productivity. Dylan was also a forward-thinking young man who loved to discuss potential career options. With so many interests, he truly had a lot to consider. During his time at school, Dylan worked at Boggs Pit Stop doing mechanical work. He had thought about pursuing a career in diesel mechanics, and that remains an area that he's interested in. Through his hard work and positive attitude, Dylan finished school on November 7th and quickly found full-time employment. He began working at Sunoco in Akron and has found much success there. He's currently working third shift and rotates between 45 and 50 hours a week. He plans on learning machine operation and would like to establish himself at a level 3 operator eventually. Although Dylan's very focused on his own goals, he always took time to help others. He loved to play with his little cousins and help out those in need around the school. He served on the Silver Lake Volunteer Fire Department and is currently looking into becoming a member of the Akron Fire Department now that he's ingrained in the Akron community. His passion for achievement, coupled with his ambitious drive, will help Dylan find much success in life. Dylan Allen Lotion. She first began here back in 2020 due to some disciplinary reasons. Rather than being removed from school, she was given the opportunity to progress and attend here at Burket. It did not take long for her to show that she had some real intelligence and academic ability. She was a quiet student and always very respectful and polite, at least until she was mad. She kept on pace with her work and was often one of the leading students in terms of productivity. Although she went through some rebellious periods, Gracie was helped along the way to stay on track by her family, and big sister Sierra, also a Burket graduate, is here today. Gracie focused on improving her mental health as she went along as well. She found a lot of support in that from school officials, family, and professionals. By the end of her sophomore year, Gracie did so well that she transitioned back to the high school for her junior year, and she continued to do well until towards the end of the year. Towards the end of the year, she made a deal with the administration that she was considering dropping out of school, even if she was almost finished. As a result, she was placed back here for a second time and given the opportunity to work ahead and try to get finished as quickly as possible. She continued to work hard through the summer and found herself in a very good position when it came back here in August. And it didn't take her long to finish up. In fact, her birthday in October, she turned 18. Gracie actually wanted to stay a little bit longer, so that was a nice change for Gracie. Gracie's accomplishments at Burket were profound, as she finished with over 55,000 minutes on task and 177 units of study. She became a class leader and a positive student, encouraging many others. She was a friend and somewhat of a counselor to many of the other students. Outside of school, Gracie enjoys skateboarding, and she's an outstanding painter. Now that Gracie has finished, she resides in Columbia City. With all of her talents, Gracie can find much success down the pathway of life. Gracie Minerva Oak. Charlene Ortiz. Zane Timothy Rupp. We had the pleasure of having Zane attend Burket this year as a senior. Zane came to Burket from the high school, attending in the mornings and going to work in the afternoons at Good to Go gas station. School's never been Zane's love, and he struggled with motivation at times and felt like he was in despair. He knew the opportunity was there for success if he wanted to work hard, and that raised his spirits significantly. With only a half-day schedule, Zane came to school each and every day with a great work ethic and attitude. He was focused on his work and worked very hard. He always had a smile and kept a positive attitude. Using online learning, Zane was able to work at his own pace and didn't feel the pressure of keeping up with class on a daily basis. This led to him growing in confidence, and it started a cycle of success for Zane. As his confidence grew, so did Zane's desire for accomplishment. During the 5th week of his final 9 weeks, Zane was our student of the week, and he finished the 9 weeks with an outstanding 259 assessments mastered. All of Zane's hard work eventually paid off as he stands before you as a 440 graduate. Outside of school, Zane keeps pretty busy. He likes to spend time with his friends and drive his truck. He's active in the workplace as well. Upon finishing school, he worked for a while at Aries Industry in Rochester. And 3 weeks ago, he started at Pike Lumber Company at Akron, Indiana. Zane hopes to save up enough money to someday have his own house. With his hard work and positive attitude, Zane will find much success in life. Zane Timothy Grubb. Shaylin Nicole Wilcox. Ladies and gentlemen, your Burket Educational Center class of 2023. These graduates are now part of a collection of Burket Alternative School students going back to the fall of 2003. Their achievements will be memorialized as their graduation pictures hang in the school cafeteria on the Wall of Fame to motivate future generations. Moreover, they're now part of a special group of people in our area. No school cares more about their students than Valley, and these graduates will forever be part of something special, the Valley family. The faculty and staff, along with the student body and graduating class of 2023, would like to thank each and every one of you for your attendance here this morning. All of us had to work hard to pull this together to make the dream a reality for the new graduates. I would especially like to take a moment to thank Mrs. Jennifer Kimball for her work in the classroom and many other jobs. She's outstanding in all that she does, and we have the utmost respect for her. And Mr. Byron Tinky for his time in the classroom. He's an outstanding resource and influence on the students. We're all praying for a full recovery for Mrs. Tinky as well. Our newest team member, Mrs. Nikki Lewis, is extraordinary in building positive relationships with students, and her impact's already being felt in the school. Mrs. Karen Clark for her work in the office, as she shows amazing love and patience. And Mrs. Christy Smith for her devotion to helping students through the most difficult challenges. These four individuals are superb, and trust me, without their hard work, many of these students would not have achieved what they were able to achieve. Thank you to Mr. Conley and the School Board of Administration for their outstanding support and leadership, Mrs. Sue Hoffman for her work as our community representative, the Beaver Dam Church for the Thanksgiving dinner, the Tiki family for their donations at Christmas, the Billfold Committee and members for their monetary support that helps students and be encouraged throughout the school year. Special thank you to our community church volunteers to help make this day memorable, including especially noted Mrs. Pam Miller, the leader of the Burket Bible Church. They provided the food, drinks, and gifts for the students here today, as well as Mrs. Sandy Rowland and Michael Locke. Different guest speakers we've had throughout the years are both in attendance today. Together we can continue to educate, formally and informally, the next generation of American citizens. Whether it's our neighbors, our friends, students, sons or daughters, may we continue to have our young adults graduate and progress for the future. Thank you.